All right, guys, what is going on? Wanted to, yeah, I got it now. Wanted to jump into another episode here and make sure I'm recording. Yeah, we're good. And talk about one of my one of my boys on Instagram here, Derek Lamar. You guys should check him out. He's got cool content on his channel. Super acrobatic kid. But anyway, uh, he was asking if I would talk about musical beginnings. I like that title, right? And so figured I'd just spend a little bit of time kind of telling you guys how I got started with this whole music thing and sort of the weird journey that was. My mom she's a great pianist and songwriter and singer, and she got my brother and I. He's 2 years younger than I am. She got us started playing piano. It was young. I mean, we were probably 4 years old, and just nothing crazy, just like basic, piano lessons. And I think I was a little bit more into it than my brother was, but at that age, not really, right? Like we grew up in Orlando, Florida. Like we were skateboarding, all day long, and then just nonstop, right? That's all we wanted to do, skateboard and rollerblade and just go do crazy shit, being kids. And so did piano for like a year or two, but it wasn't something that really stuck, and I just it just wasn't a strong desire. So it's going to be tough for I think any parent to force their kids to keep doing something that they just don't want to do. So didn't really do much beyond that. I was always singing in like church choirs and things like that. Again, nothing crazy, just kind of oh, this kid can sing a little bit. Let's put him in and have him do whatever. So no like crazy background or upbringing as far as that kind of stuff. But when I got into high school is when I started really getting back into music and songwriting, and then had picked up a couple different instruments. Songwriting is kind of one of those things that if you write songs, you're sort of always writing songs. Like whether it's like a proactive thing or like I'm always hearing melodies and hearing new vocal lines and like hook lines and choruses and things like that. And it's always been like that since I was young. So I think once I got to that age, whatever that was, like maybe 13 or 14, there was probably already like a lot of content that I had sort of stored up without even being aware of it. And actually, sorry, let me go back just a little bit. I think I was in middle school, my dad, so my mom plays piano, she does her thing. He was a really great drummer. He actually he'll laugh at this if he hears it, but he ended up on a drum scholarship. And I gotta like fact check this, but my recollection is that he got and it wasn't crazy. It was like a small drum scholarship for whatever school he was going to, but he couldn't read music, and the band director didn't know that, so they gave him a scholarship, and he shows up on day one, and like all he knows how to do is play a drum set, right? He doesn't read music. He's not going to play timpani and all that other shit. So I don't think that lasted very long. But anyway, so what I'm getting at is I think I was around middle school time, so call it like 11 or 12. He actually bought a drum set, and so my brother and I spent quite a bit of time playing that. So I'd gone from like as a kid having some exposure to piano, and again like nothing crazy, just basic what you would expect a little kid to be playing. Then in middle school, he gets a drum set. That was sort of the first instrument that I really, I guess, fell in love with, or just wanted to spend time. And I played those drums all the time. And so I kind of had that foundation laid. But then when I got into high school, I ended up getting some just super, I don't even remember what it was called, some cheap recording software. And I got my first, it was like some $100 Yamaha electric guitar, and just started tracking, right? Like I hadn't ever really recorded anything, so I didn't fully understand song structure. But once I figured out, we're talking basic stuff here, just verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, like the most standard, just A B, C B, kind of structure that you hear in basically all popular music. Once I figured that out, I started kind of getting just a really simple formula that I could work from, and so really started pouring more time into the guitar. I had the background with the drums. Still wasn't doing a whole lot with the piano stuff, but that was kind of the first time that I really started falling back in love with music, or whatever you want to call it. And it was around that time that I started getting back into bands as well. So I had a couple high school bands that I did some stuff with. And then basically right at the end of high school, kind of after high school was in a hard rock band that actually for I don't know 2 or 3 years. I mean, we were really active. Like we were playing shows all over the state. We did a little bit of out of state touring stuff and did some tracking out of state as well. And we're doing the full album recordings and all that kind of shit. And that was about the time I ended up, and this is an episode I already did, the one talking about losing my voice, but it was around that time that I paralyzed my right vocal cord. And so being the front man of this band, and I was playing a little bit of rhythm guitar as well, and all that kind of just, disappeared really quickly. And so the next however many years was spent going through and doing all these different like vocal procedures and trying to get my voice back. But while that was going on, I was pretty disconnected from the music scene as far as like being involved with all the people and the venues and just all the different bands and stuff. I really did kind of withdraw from that. I think it was just at the time it was too painful to be around it, knowing I had kind of lost my voice and didn't really have a good explanation for it at the time. But what it did do is it allowed me to kind of refocus really on the instrumentation side of things. And so especially with piano, I never went back and got lessons or anything, but I just started playing it all the time, and I was on YouTube and I was learning different things, and so my piano skills kind of over that whatever that period was, 5, 6, 7 years, when I didn't have my voice, increased just radically. Like I just became a much better piano player. And I was playing a ton of guitar as well. I actually got into like some Andy McKee kind of dadgad tuning stuff, where it's some of like the I don't even know what you would call it, like the finger picking with some of the percussive elements like on the body of the guitar. And so I started pouring myself into that, a lot of the piano. And then I ended up going to college for audio engineering. So it wasn't anything crazy, but at least it exposed me to this side of it. And so I started doing more recording. And anyway, I didn't know any of this at the time, but it was kind of building this sort of perfect storm where when I did get my voice back, and it took, even once I started, it took a few years to figure out how to, because it was a completely new instrument. I had to relearn how to use it. I had all these skills, right? That like, there's no way otherwise I would have developed this. And so I spent the first few years almost doing more of like I would call it like an acoustic pop thing. I was really scared to use my voice in a way that would have, the way I use it now with the screaming and the hard rock stuff and the big, multi-octave range. I just was afraid that if I did that, I was going to lose it. So I kind of kept it pretty simple for a while. But once I started to get more comfortable and I went, okay, I really want to pour back into this hard rock metal thing, it was crazy because I would hear, the melody of the song or whatever it was I wanted to do. And I'd go to play this piano part and I'd be like, that's pretty cool. Like, it's actually a solid piano part. And then I'd go to play the guitar and I'm like, geez, like it's all these things I almost wasn't aware of until I started trying to put it all together. And then I realized, and obviously I had the drumming background too, which drums is probably, as far as like instruments go, that's probably the most natural instrument I play. So it didn't take much time for me to become at least a pretty good drummer. And I don't think I'm like a great anything. I don't think I'm a great piano player, great guitarist, great drummer. But I think I'm good enough at all of them to sort of put together what I've done with this Fire Follows stuff. And anyway, so yeah, that's kind of the background, right? It's like little bits of exposure here and there for certain seasons, different focuses on whether it was piano, drums, guitar, and then of course voice was kind of always in there, and then getting that taken away for a while. But yeah, that's sort of the background. And then as the Fire Follows thing has evolved, like I've moved into some different focuses, and I've obviously brought certain players in. Like I've got a band now. I still, for the most part, am doing all the tracking by myself, but Emily comes in and does a little bit of the drum work, and then I'm looking forward to getting a couple of these other guys doing some different contributions on some of the new stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of it. It's just sort of along the road, picking little things up, and after all these years, sort of figuring out a way to put all that stuff together in a cohesive, I guess a cohesive way. And yeah, just I'm always trying to further refine it or whatever, but that's sort of the backdrop of the musical beginnings and the process as it's gotten to this point. And so I guess we'll see where it goes from here, but that's at least a little bit of the background. So yeah, any questions, hit me up in the comments. Happy to answer everything. Talk to you soon.